Hello everyone and welcome to Questline. Recently, I finished reading a novel called South of the Border, West of the Sun by Haruki Murakami. Now this episode is not a book review. It is an investigation. An investigation into what this story reveals about the human mind and unexpectedly, what it revealed about myself. Because sometimes the characters we read about do not shake us because of what they do. They catch our attention because we recognize something in them. Something that is familiar, something that is uncomfortable, and something that quietly mirrors our own thoughts. The character, Hajime, is a man who has stability, who has a wife, children, success, and security. And yet, something inside him still feels incomplete. And when I read this story, I could not stop and think to myself, why does that feeling make sense to me? This is not a critique of Murakami's writing. This is a reflection on restlessness, on fire, and on self-acceptance. And before we get into it, please leave a like, subscribe, share this video to everyone, and of course feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. And with that said, back to the video. Section 1. Restlessness. Question. Why does stability sometimes feel incomplete? Hajime is not struggling financially. He is not isolated, and he is not oppressed. He has built something solid. Something that, on the surface, many of us would aspire to. And yet, when someone from his past reappears, something inside him stirs again. Not necessarily love, and not necessarily regret, but a sense that something essential was left behind. What I recognized in Hajime was not recklessness, it was restlessness. When I look at my life, I cannot say that I am lacking the basics. I have a beautiful wife, I have a son and daughter, I have a roof over my head, I have clothes on my back, and we could put food on the table. I have my responsibilities, and I have a level of structure and stability. And yet there is a restlessness inside of me. But the nature of that restlessness feels different. Hajime's restlessness seems like a search for intensity. My restlessness, however, feels more like vigilance. It feels as though if I stop moving forward, if I stop growing, it feels like something inside of me begins to decay. When you have lived through fire, stillness can feel unnatural. So the question becomes, is restlessness a flaw? Or is it a signal that something deeper still needs to be understood? Section 2. Redemption. Question. Can a man reshape himself through his choices? Hajime's life is haunted by memory, by a connection from his past that continues to echo into his present. That memory represents not just a person, but a possibility, a road not taken. And perhaps that is what unsettles him the most. Not simply longing, but a sense that his life might have unfolded differently. My own journey toward change came from a different place. After everything that has happened in my life, I found myself asking a simple question. What kind of man do I want to become? For me, redemption was never about proving anything to the world. It was about moving away from the bitterness, away from the rage, and away from the version of myself that once carried resentment like armor. It was about becoming someone stronger, someone more disciplined, and someone who could stand in the face of hardship without collapsing. Redemption, in that sense, is not a single moment. It is a direction. So the question becomes, are we defined by our past, or by the direction we choose from this moment forward? Section 3. The fire. Question: what kind of fire shapes a man? When I speak about fire, as I mentioned earlier, I do not mean excitement. I mean years of bullying. I mean immigration battles. I mean fighting to keep my family together. I mean my son's illness and eventually his death. That is fire. Now Hajime's life is different. His fire seems quieter. His struggles are emotional rather than catastrophic. He feels drawn toward intensity because his life has become too calm and too predictable. But when your life has been shaped by real fire, calm can feel like the calm before the storm. Your mind becomes conditioned to anticipate the next battle. So when things are stable, part of you keeps asking, okay, what is the next move? What must I prepare for next? That is what fire does in this context. But the deeper question is this: did the fire create the man, or did it only reveal who he really was? Section 4. Recognition. Question: do I need recognition to know my life has meaning? Hajime seems quietly drawn toward validation, toward feeling that his life carries significance. Not fame, not applause, but understanding. When I look at my own life, I realize something similar exists inside of me. On one hand, I do not need to be revered. God knows what I have done. My son knows, my ancestors know, and the friends and family who stood beside me know the path I've walked. That recognition is enough. But I will not pretend that my efforts are weightless, invisible, or insignificant. Growth requires time, energy, discipline, and sacrifice. Acknowledging that truth is not vanity, it is honesty. So the question becomes, is recognition a desire, or is it a necessity? Section 5. Forgiveness and control. Question: if I forgive, am I truly free? Hajime carries echoes of the past with him. Memories influence his decisions. Old connections pull at him. But for me, forgiveness became a different challenge. There were people in my past who hurt me deeply. For a long time, my motivation to improve myself came partly from wanting to prove them wrong. But I eventually realized something. If I'm still building my life in response to them, then I am still attached to them. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting, and accountability does not mean becoming obsessive. It simply means refusing to allow the past to dictate every future decision. So the question becomes, am I building my life freely, or am I still reacting to the past? Section 6. Grief as a furnace. Question: did catastrophe create my drive? Hajime's story is shaped by emotional tension, not catastrophe. But my life changed in a moment of tragedy. When my son died, something inside me woke up. It was an awakening to the reality that tomorrow is not guaranteed. It was an awakening to the reality of what I'd done to myself, and what kind of life I wanted to build moving forward. Grief can create two different paths. One is becoming dependent on pain. The other is allowing pain to forge strength. So the question becomes, did grief destroy me, or did it refine me? Section 7. Fireworks or candles? Question. What kind of strength lasts the longest? A firework explodes with awe and amazement. It lights up the sky and demands attention, but it disappears in a matter of seconds. A candle, on the other hand, burns quietly. It may not impress anyone, but it endures, slowly illuminating the dark. When you compare steadiness to electricity, steadiness can look and feel dull, cringe, or even boring. And when we start believing that dullness and boredom and cringe equal to failure, we become addicted to intensity. But real strength often looks quiet. So the question becomes, is the brightest flame the strongest, or the one that lasts the longest? Section 8. Identity. Question. Who am I without the fire? Hajime seems partly defined by unresolved memories. His identity is tied to moments that never fully closed. But if I remove the fire from my life, the tragedies, the struggles, the battles, and the challenges, I still believe something fundamental would remain. The desire to grow, the desire to become better, and the desire to understand life. Fire may accelerate growth, but it does not necessarily create it. So the question becomes, would I still strive to grow, even without the fire? Section 9. Self-acceptance. Question. What does it mean to accept yourself? For a long time, self-acceptance felt alien to me. I spent years hating myself and angry at myself, but over time I realized something simple. Self-respect can be trained like a muscle. Examples like going to the gym, finishing my degree, and taking care of my family. Each of these actions become a small act of self-respect. Self-acceptance does not mean abandoning growth. It simply means refusing to use anger and self-hatred as fuel. So the question becomes, can I accept who I am today while still striving to become better tomorrow? Section 10. Conclusion. Hajime is not a villain. He is not a hero. He is simply a human being. And perhaps that is why Murakami's character feels so real, because he reflects something inside many of us. Reading his story forced me to confront my own questions about restlessness, about fire, and about identity. But awareness changes something fundamental, because once you see the forces shaping your life, you gain the ability to choose your direction. So the final question becomes is this: are you drifting through life or consciously choosing the person you are becoming? Well, that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Before we close off, I would like to give a quick mention to Haruki Murakami. If you're interested in reading South of the Border, West of the Sun, I'll leave a link in the description below. And if by some miracle the man himself happens to be watching this video, I say to you this, sir. Arigatou gozaimasu. Your work inspired this reflection. And to all my viewers out there, if you enjoyed this video and what I do on this channel, please leave a like, subscribe, and share with everyone who might appreciate this kind of content. If you have your own thoughts, please leave them in the comments below. And until the next time, stay strong, stay curious, and keep forging your quest line. Wishing you all well and good health. Take care. And cut, that's a wrap!